One of the things that really frustrates me is when Christians don't think about what is good. You see, God tells us to think about what is good. But I've noticed that a lot of times that Christians are thinking about what is wrong, not what is good. They're thinking about what's bad, not what is good. And I think that's a problem. You see, God wants us to fix our minds on what is good. Let me tell you, there is a lot of good, so much good. Like even when we think about culture, there's a lot of talk about how bad culture is. People seem to think that, the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket. And I just don't think that's the case. You see, I'm really trying to embrace what God said when he said, whatever is good, think about such things. So when I think about culture, I try to fix my mind on the things that are good, how people are able to share their thoughts and feelings, how we live in a cultural context where there are so many civil liberties that we're able to embrace and explore, where we live in a world where, Christianity is not a state religion. Because that's like the worst thing that could ever happen to Christianity. When Christianity has like power and control, it's terrible. It's not meant to be that way. But when we live in a cultural context where there's some opposition, there are people who are able to go ahead and say, you know what, I don't believe that, I don't think that way. Well, then there's opportunity to say, well, tell me what you're feeling, what you're thinking. What do you believe in? And what do you think is happening? And then you can have a conversation. And that's how you actually are able to share Jesus with people. There's so much good. I've been doing this pastoral ministry thing for over 20 years now. And it's like each new generation that hits the mid-40s range falls into this kind of mindset that says everything is bad. It's like they look at the world and, their kids are growing up, maybe getting ready to graduate high school, then move on to adulthood. And they're like, the world's a terrible place. It's the worst it's ever been. Oh, no. I think it's probably the best it's ever been. Sometimes people are like, well, I wish we could just go back to the ways it was in biblical times. God, no. Christianity has had a positive impact on the world in the 2,000 years since the church was established here on earth. Things have changed, and they've changed for the good. God's at work. He's moving. He is redeeming our world. There's so much good. So why not think about what is good instead of focusing on what's wrong? You see, I think that's why we end up as Christians often with such a critical spirit. And when you have a critical spirit, you're not really free to enjoy anything. We're constantly critiquing and trying to figure out what was bad or wrong or what we didn't like somehow or the other that makes us, better. It's like, it seems like sometimes people think, the more I critique something, well, the more thoughtful I'm being. Honestly, it's kind of thoughtless. Simple things. Like, let's say you're at, an event and someone sings the national anthem. Do you really need to sit there and pick apart their performance? How they hit the notes or didn't hit the notes, or how they held their hands, or the tempo in which they sang the song. Why not just look at what's good? Even if the performance was terrible, that person had courage. That person went out in front of people. That person raised their voice and they sang a song and they tried. There's so much good you could say about that. Like, hey, this person's parents probably raised the person in a way that made them courageous and strong, and I want to raise my kids that way. So you flip the switch and you start thinking about what is good, and you're far more likely to do good things, to say good things, and to help the world really be a better place instead of just making it miserable for everybody else. So whatever is good, I want you to think about that for a while.